everyone, Alexa here from the blog theduvallhomestead.com, where I passionately share farm-to-table recipes and homemade natural living. Today I'm going to take you along and show you our chicks, how they have grown over the last 6 weeks, and how to set up a brooder and overall just chick care. If you are new to homesteading and backyard chickens, if you're interested in getting chicks, this will help you understand what to expect the first 6 weeks, how to take care of them, and how quickly that time really goes by because they grow so fast. Alright, so I'm standing in the backyard here. We live on a really small homestead, just about a 1/4 acre, but we do a lot in that little space. So we have chickens back here, we have garden, and you can maybe see the chicks behind me if I move out of the frame here. So what you see here is our little run that we have for the chickens. On the other side of the coop is a lot of grass, and we do plan to let them out to free roam eventually, but right now we're just keeping them in here so that they get used to having their run. So normally when you first get chicks, you will either get them from a mail order, you might hatch them yourself, you might have a broody hen, which means a hen that is sitting on eggs and hatching the eggs herself. That's probably the most ideal way, but if you're like us, you have a small space and you can only have a couple of chickens. So we don't have the ability in our town to have a huge flock of chickens. So we have to be very selective, and we kind of have the chickens as pets, which is honestly really fun. I think chickens are a blast to own as pets, and I can't wait for her to get older so that she can play with them and just get used to taking care of an animal outside. So I'm gonna try and make this quick because I think she needs to nap really soon. So about 6 weeks ago, we got these chicks from our local feed store. They were 3 days old when we picked them up. I set up a little brooder for them with a big plastic tote. I lined it with paper bags and then some rubber shelf liner. Now I did this instead of the pine shavings because pine shavings can be so dusty and little chicks just have a hard time getting their footing on the ground. So the rubber shelf liner is really nice just to start them off for the first couple of days. They are super small those first couple of days, and the most important thing that you have to think about with baby chicks is heat. Underneath their mama, they can get 95 degrees or maybe even warmer with all of her feathers. So you really have to mimic that in order to keep them alive. So there are a couple ways to do that. You can use a commercial heat lamp. Now a heat lamp is probably the most dangerous option because if the heat lamp were to break and fall, especially if you have pine shavings, it's a huge fire hazard. Lots of people have lost chickens and entire coops due to this exact reason. However, they do work really well in creating heat. Another option is something like a heat pad. You can get an electrical heat pad that you plug in and it will get up to 95 or 100 degrees on the surface. So they can stand on top of it or stand below it and they can get that heat. Now this is not a fire hazard, it's a whole lot safer. And we didn't know which one we were gonna wanna do, so we did both. The best way to tell if you have a warm enough brooder is by watching your chicks. If they are huddled right underneath the heat lamp all together, it means they're probably too cold. If they're huddled away from the heat lamp altogether, they might be too warm. So you want them to be walking around and you want them to be eating and looking happy. It's pretty easy to tell if they look too cold. It's important to know that the time period that you have to deal with the heat in the chicks, it really goes by fast. It's only a few weeks that they really need that hot temperature. And this is because they don't have feathers yet, so they don't have an ability to keep themselves warm. Also in the brooder, you want to have food and water. You want to have a chick feed that is specific for chicks, and you want to have nice clean water every single day. You want to refill that with clean water, and you want to put rocks in it so that they don't fall in and drown. In our little mixture here, we have 1 cinnamon queen, 2 buff orpingtons, and an Easter egger. So we kept this plastic tote inside the house for the first couple of days. This is just because I was not comfortable with putting it in the garage yet. It was still really cold outside. It's in the 30s at night. The garage was probably 50 degrees at night, so still really chilly, and I just didn't want them to die. So I wanted to keep them inside. So we kept them in the bathroom for the first couple of days. Once it got a little bigger, we put them in the garage in a galvanized trough. This was formerly used as a garden bed in our backyard. I did put the pine shavings in. I also put some clumps of grass, some dirt. They really liked that, and I could tell that they were really anxious to get outside. Okay, so we are at about week 3 with the chicks, and I just wanted to show you this setup. This is a huge galvanized trough. This was kind of the original plan for the chicks, and we had the heat lamp hanging directly from this wire right here when they were out here earlier. but they were getting a little warm, so we moved it up to that corner. So the key is just to watch them, and if they're huddled underneath it, then they're cold, but if they are, you know, staying away from the heat, then they're warm. So this is what they have. I have a little roost for them over there, and we have food and water, grit, and then I love to put big clumps of dirt from outside in here. They go crazy over it. Like, I just pulled up some grass, and they have so much fun, and then they will just keep pecking at it, and then they'll start like doing a dirt bath in there, and they love it. So they are pretty anxious to get out. You can tell because they fly in here a lot. They're flying back and forth. They want to get up. They can actually fly to the top. I've seen it. That's why we have all this stuff on top to cover, but I really want to put them outside, hopefully at least the next 2 weeks, maybe even sooner, because I just think they're gonna love it so much. Uh-oh, someone got a worm. Someone got something out of that dirt. Martha. Yeah, so lots of space for them to run is key, because they get really hyper. They are just energetic little chicks. And she's got nowhere to go with that. Eat it, Martha, eat it. I kept them in here for the first couple of weeks. Now, we used a heat lamp during the day, and I took the heat pad away during the day because they really weren't using it. They were wanting to play a lot during the day, and they only used the heat pad for sleeping at nighttime. So we did a combination of both heat lamp and heat pad. I'll leave a link below to the heat pad that we got on Amazon. We bought it the day before we got the chicks because we just all of a sudden were not feeling comfortable with the heat lamp. We didn't want to leave it on at nighttime or when we weren't home, and we just really didn't want to rely on it. And I'm so glad that we just pulled the trigger on the heat pad, because now we have it in the coop because they're still not fully feathered yet. And we feel completely safe with that in there. And it's really important that you keep your chicks healthy this first couple of days. Our feed store recommended that we use probiotics and electrolytes in the water for the first couple days. So that's what we did. We just got a powdered formula that we put in the water. And I don't know if we just got lucky or what, but our chicks have not had any health issues, knock on wood. And they have grown super fast. Now, I also feed them fermented chicken feed, which I have a whole blog post on the recipe on how I fed our older chickens fermented chicken feed before. But for the chicks, I just took their chick starter feed that I bought from the feed store, the organic chick feed, put it in water and let it ferment for about 2 days. And they really liked that. It's a really good way to get them probiotics and to get them started on that fermented feed so that they're used to it and they eat it when they're adults. After a couple of weeks, the chicks were really wanting to get outside. I would bring them out when the sun was out and it was 60 or so degrees outside, and I put them in a little fenced play area, and they just loved it. They were scratching, digging, and eating worms and taking little baths. So I knew that it was almost time to get them out here full time. Okay, this is the chicks' first time going outside. 3 of them right there are now 2 weeks old, and then the larger one is 3 weeks. And I'm only doing this because the weather's nice out. It's probably 60 degrees in the sun, so it's not warm enough. So we're not gonna stay out here long, but it is warm. And so they can be in the sun for a little bit and just be outside. So we kept them in the trough in the garage for probably 2 or 3 weeks. And we actually brought them out here in the coop at about 3 weeks. And that's actually way sooner than I thought. I thought they were gonna be in the garage for a full 8 weeks. So chicks are between 1 month and 5 weeks old now. I'm gonna put them out in the coop and I will give you a little tour. This is our small backyard chicken coop. I just hung some herbs on the side here for fragrance and also health benefits. And we have the heat pad there. And they have been sleeping underneath it, and I have it slanted so that if they need more heat, they can go to the side that's lower, or if they're too hot, they can move. That is our automatic coop door that opens and closes. And then I've got their dry chick feed, and then this is their fermented feed. 2 nesting boxes, which they haven't gone much in yet. I'll tell you, they really like their outdoor time. They don't want to be inside the coop much. So let's go see what they're doing outside. I find it's easiest to keep the feed outside and the fermented feed because it's wet, so it doesn't get all over the floor. Bath time. By week 3 or 4, they were getting a little big for the trough. They were wanting to fly out of it. They were trying to fly out of the trough, and they just seemed like they would be so much happier out here. So I went ahead and just put them out here, and we did give them the heat pad. Now, an important thing about the heat pad is you want to adjust it. So if you buy the one that we buy, you'll see that in the instructions, you keep it really low when they're first born and then you just raise it as they get bigger. You want to make sure their backs can touch the top of the heat pad because that's where the heat comes from. It doesn't radiate heat, it's just warm right on the pad. Okay, this is week 6 with the chicks. One of them is about 7 weeks. The Rhode Island mix Cinnamon Queen, and the rest are 6 weeks, and they are so big. I just love coming out here and watching them. I don't know if you can relate with chickens, but they are so sweet. And I really don't think that they are gross or anything like that. Maybe it's only because we have 4 of them. We don't have 30 or more, but they are great pets, I really think. And these guys are doing so well. Hello. Hi. Hello. These are the 2 Buff Orpingtons. Hi guys. They have so much energy. They fly out of the coop every morning. And they play with each other. Really enjoying that sunspot right now. So now the chicks are 6 or so weeks old and they live out here. We still have the heat pad in the coop. And actually not sure if they're sleeping on it anymore because now that they're all not fully feathered, but they have a lot of feathers on them, they can keep themselves pretty warm, especially when they huddle up together. So I expect to take the heat pad out of the coop in about 2 weeks, about 8 weeks old, because that's when they're supposed to be fully feathered. But I'm gonna take a look at them and you'll be able to tell if the feathers are fully grown or if they're still trying to grow them. So there's no harm in leaving it in there just to make sure that they stay warm. Having backyard chickens is a wonderful addition to your homestead, whether you live on just a small quarter acre or if you have a lot of land. Getting eggs from your own backyard is super rewarding, and chickens are just really cute animals and they're really fun pets too. They make you feel like you are farming and homesteading, even if they're the only animals that you have. Alright, well I hope you all found this video helpful, especially if you are new to homesteading and maybe new to chickens or thinking about getting chickens and not sure what it looks like to have baby chicks. They are really fun and enjoyable, and that little cute chick stage only lasts a couple weeks. So it's a fun experience to go through, and then you get nice chickens that lay eggs for you. If you're brand new to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Every week I post a new farm-to-table recipe and homemade natural living. Thank you so much for stopping by the homestead. You ready to go to sleep now?